Are you a QA engineer? Are you interested in getting into QA automation, but you're not sure which automated testing tool to use? There are so many different ones out there. In today's video, we'll be comparing some of the most popular automation tools for 2024. Which one should you get into? Is it Selenium? Is it Cypress? Is it Playwright? Let's find out. Welcome to another episode of Software Explorations, Concept and Overviews, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. In today's video, like I mentioned, we are going to be comparing Selenium, Cypress.io, and Playwright to see which one you should get into. I will be giving my insights as a 15-year veteran in the QA field. I've been doing automation for the past 12 to 13 years. So we will dive into it. So let's just jump right into it. So have a slightly different format going into 2024. You know, we are always trying to innovate, trying to advance. So we will be trying this out. And, you know, if we don't like it, we'll change it. You know, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this format? Do you like it better? Do you like the PDF? Do you like the slides presentation better? Let me know what you think, and we will make the necessary adjustments. Just leave me a comment in the description. Just leave me a comment on the video and let me know what are your thoughts. So, like I said, we will be talking about Cypress. So, like I said, we'll be talking about Selenium WebDriver versus Cypress versus Playwright. All right, and let's go through this real quick. And I will be using a post from Lambda Test to break it down, and I will be sprinkling it with my insights from my experience as well. So we're going to be talking about, so our introduction, we'll be talking about a brief overview of automated testing tools. So there are many different automated testing tools out there, and we'll break it down. So let's just go through this agenda real quick, and then we'll come back to the beginning and we'll start, all right? So then we'll talk about the importance of choosing the right tool for web testing. For the Selenium WebDriver part, we'll be going through it's a little bit of its history and overview of it, the pros and cons of Selenium, the languages that it supports, cross-browser compatibility, and the community and documentation. Once we get into the Cypress section, we'll be talking about an introduction to Cypress. We're going to talk about the advantages and the limitations of Cypress, the architecture and the working principles, and the unique features such as travel time debugging and the use cases and scenarios where Cypress excels over other automation tools. And then we'll jump into our Playwright section, where we'll talk about the overview and the key features, comparisons with Selenium and Cypress, browser support and compatibility, as well as support for mobile devices, asynchronous execution, and network interception. And then we will go into the performance and the speed comparisons among Selenium, Cypress, and Playwright, factors influencing performance, impact on test execution time, and then we'll discuss the ease of use and the learning curve for Selenium, Cypress, and Playwright, and then testability and debugging, all of that. And then lastly, community support, and we'll wrap it up with that, all right? So let's jump over to our Lambda Test article. So let's talk about a brief overview of automated testing tools, right? So there are tons and tons of automated testing tools out there, like I mentioned. When I first started in automation, I was using, it was called Quick Test Professional. They later changed the name to HP Unified Functional Testing, and that was a very, very expensive software. And then I migrated over to Selenium WebDriver using Java, and that I did a good 8 to 10 years using that, right? Now, most currently, I am using Selenium WebDriver using Python, right? Which goes into the language support that we'll talk about. But I've also in the past 6 months, you know, since I started this YouTube channel, I've done software explorations using Cypress, right? There was like a 3-part series on Cypress, and then there was like a 2-part series on Playwright. Both very, very cool tools. Using Cypress, it actually helped me solve a challenge from Chaos Camp, where we were trying to trying to capture the shadow DOM. So the tools are very, very well, right? Are very, very good. So the importance of choosing the right tool for web testing. It all depends on your needs, right? Some people, like some companies, they will favor Cypress over Selenium because of their code base. They're using either Node, or they're like highly in tune with the code base that the developers are using to add the automation tests to it. So it's probably better to use Cypress in that case. Some other companies, because of the flexibility and the history of Selenium, they'll prefer Selenium. It can support multiple different languages. It can support the mobile. It can support mobile automation through Appium and stuff like that. It can be combined with other tools. It's very, very expandable. Like so many different libraries you can connect to it, right? And then Playwright, to me, I think that's one of the newest ones out there. It is very flexible as well. So there is so much there's so much out there, and there's so many other testing tools. Like there's Detox, there's paid solutions, so many things out there that it can be overwhelming. So we are going to focus on the three most popular ones today, which is Selenium, Cypress, and Playwright. And then we can go from there, right? So let's get into our comparison between Playwright versus Selenium versus Cypress. This article is posted on Lambda Test. I will put the link to it in the description so you can follow along. You can read it for yourself. So it says Playwright and Selenium are both powerful test automation frameworks. Playwright supports TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, .NET, and Java, while Selenium offers a broader language support, including Python, Java, C#, Ruby, and JavaScript. So I didn't know that Playwright supported that many languages. I was familiar with the JavaScript and Python. In last year, we worked on Playwright with JavaScript, which we can probably go into trying it out with Python this year, and maybe even with Java as well. We have a long runway to go through, so we will definitely get into that. I have used Selenium with Python and Java, a little bit, very little of C#, and then with a little bit with JavaScript as well. So the choices between them often depend on the specific needs of the project and the preferred programming language of the developer. Syntax and usability also play a role. For instance, some find Selenium syntax more intuitive, while others prefer Playwright's approach, right? So just because of my familiarity with Selenium, I gravitate towards Selenium. For me, going from Java using Selenium to Python was very easy because I already understood the concepts of Selenium, right? So it wasn't that big of a deal to make that switch. But trying to switch from maybe Playwright to or Cypress, that might be a little bit more challenging. Not that it would be like too difficult. It's just getting the syntax and finding out like what all the features are, right? So with multiple frameworks available, choosing the best for your product becomes more challenging. While various testing tools are available in the market, Selenium has been a well-established player for quite some time. However, newer automation testing frameworks such as Cypress and Playwright have recently provided Selenium with serious competition. I have used Selenium and Cypress and recently started using Playwright. All right, and I've used all three of them as well. I've used Selenium with multiple different languages. We did Cypress. With JavaScript, and then we did Playwright with JavaScript as well. Right. So every tool framework has its pros and cons. When I switched from Selenium to Cypress, I found that Cypress was speedy and less flaky compared to Selenium. I saw test cases that had previously taken a long time resulted in failure, now executed well in the local environment and the CI/CD pipelines, which is very good to hear. Flaky test, it is a pain. So Playwright, comparatively a newer entrant to the market, is an open source framework primarily used for end-to-end testing. Built by Microsoft, it supports prominent languages like Python, Java, JavaScript, C#, and more. It comprises of features and capabilities more aligned with the modern web, right? So that's one of the things about Selenium, is that because it is so old, for lack of a better term, it's been around for such a long time. And so keeping it like backwards compatible and building onto it, it's hard to make these massive changes where these new softwares can come in and they can build off what's modern, right? So so that's why you can see Cypress running better, running faster, having less flakiness. It's less that they have to account for, and the same thing with Playwright, right? So when a new user plans to develop a framework from scratch, choosing the right tool or framework can sometimes be tricky as they are trying to figure out which framework will work best for their project. It takes a lot of research, I like when I was switching from unified functional testing to Selenium, it took me a few months to figure out like if Selenium was going to work and how to get started with it, right? As I started my career in automation, I used Java, which allowed me to leverage the benefits of Selenium's framework to automate web application testing. So this person who's writing the article, very similar to my experience so far. Nevertheless, I am also facing many challenges with my current project at the moment. To solve these difficulties, I am forced to look into other tools to assist. Given that there are several considerations to take into account, including in-house technical expertise, ease of use, and CI/CD integration, it is important to determine which framework or tool would be the most suitable option based on these factors and others that are important in selecting the optimal solution. Needless to mention that the framework must let you run tests in a CI/CD pipeline, right? So you have to take all of these things into consideration because it needs you're not working in a silo, right? You're working within a team. You're working with other people, so you need to be able to get these tools to like whatever automation tool that you're using. It needs to be able to integrate, right? Especially if you're working in a CI/CD pipeline, because once the code is pushed by the developers, then your automated test should also be able to trigger. And if that can't happen, then it might not be the right tool for the job, all right? So let's keep going. The Cypress framework has been my go-to tool for the last 3 or 4 years. It offers many features: automatic waiting, flake detection, network traffic controls, screenshots and videos, debuggability, etc. However, several alternatives to Selenium and Cypress are currently challenging them. One of them, which is Playwright, which offers a variety of functionalities. In this Playwright versus Selenium versus Cypress blog, you will learn more about each tool, framework, and I'll also compare Playwright, Selenium, and Cypress. The learnings of this Playwright versus Selenium versus Cypress blog will help you choose the ideal tool for your project. All right. And then below are some NPM trends of Playwright versus Selenium versus Cypress. So as you can see, right, NPM trends, Selenium or Cypress is the top one for the blue one is Cypress. That's the top one for NPM, right? And that makes sense to me because I don't know many people who are going to be using Selenium with JavaScript, right? Which is what Cypress runs on. More people, they're going to be like, I would say more people would choose Selenium when it comes to Java or or Python, right? Probably even C#, even maybe Ruby as well, But for JavaScript, I don't think, especially now with Cypress is out, the ease of use and integration within your Node projects, then it's just common sense that they'll probably go with Cypress. And then Playwright is fairly new, so that's probably why it's in second. But as you can see, like the Selenium one is like a flatlining, right? Because not many people are going to use it. So if there's other options, So we're going to be talking about what is Playwright, what is Selenium, what is Cypress. So what is Playwright? Let's give a brief history of Playwright. So Playwright is an open source automation framework for end-to-end testing. It supports most modern rendering browsers, including Firefox, Chromium, and WebKit. Playwright is created and maintained by Microsoft and has steadily been gaining in popularity. It is a Node library that automates the Chromium, WebKit, and Firefox browsers using a single API. It enables quick, efficient, competent, and reliable cross-browser compatibility. Playwright test framework supports Jest, Mocha, Jasmine, and other prominent CI servers using a single API. Playwright offers cross-language support, which includes TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, .NET, and Java. All right. So that is Playwright. Here are some of the prominent features of Playwright automation. One API for any browser platform. Playwright supports all modern rendering engines, including Chromium, Firefox, WebKit. It supports Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, and additionally supports native mobile emulation for Google Chrome, and Android and mobile Safari. So it doesn't actually test on devices, but it does support mobile emulation, which is pretty cool. Very, very helpful to, for quick tests. Reduce flakiness. Playwright waits for actionable elements before performing actions to reduce flakiness. Features like test retries, execution trace captures, videos, and screenshots are also available. So I'll tell you this, in Selenium, you have to program it to do this. So that's a very cool feature that in Playwright, it is already integrated. Test case execution in isolation. Every test that Playwright runs has a unique browser context. The same thing as a new browser profile is browser context with no additional overhead. This gives complete test isolation, right? Powerful tooling. Playwright comes bundled with tools like CodeGen, Playwright Inspector, and Trace Viewer. I'm not going to read into what every single one of these are. All right. So Playwright's architecture. Playwright works directly with the WebSocket, which means once you trigger the test, the code will be converted into JSON format and will be sent to the server using WebSocket protocol. Once the connection or handshake connection is established, commands are sent between your test and Playwright server. Client and server connections will remain active until one or both parties discontinue them. After closing the connection, the connection is terminated from both ends. One of the reasons that Playwright is fast is because of the connection stays active as long as neither party terminates it, right? So, and this is a little diagram of how it works. Test, WebSocket, all commands goes to Playwright, and then Playwright distributes it to the necessary browsers. So, and then if you want to learn more about Playwright, you can click on the link in this article, which will be posted in the description, and you can follow along with that, all right? So let's jump into Selenium, right? What is Selenium? So Selenium is an open source framework for automated testing that is used to verify web applications across many platforms and browsers. Using Selenium, you can automate your application with major browsers in different programming languages such as Java, JavaScript, C#, Ruby, PHP, and Python. And just to add, right, because of the way that Selenium is built, you can extend it, you can build on top of it. So many different frameworks have been built based on Selenium, which allows you to do so many different customizations. You can integrate it with API testing, and I've built frameworks that I have been able to take API testing libraries and be able to stage content, or I could do some web testing and then make an API call to do something and then go back to the web testing. So that's one of the reasons that I really, really like working with Selenium, because it's so flexible in how you can develop it, because at the end of the day, it's just a library for whichever coding language you're using, and it can be easily extendable and things like that. All right. So using the Selenium framework, testers can use a grid of browsers instances to run test cases in parallel, which can help speed up the testing process. By running tests in parallel, you can complete the testing phase of your CI/CD pipeline more quickly, which can help to accelerate the overall development process, right? So that's like running tests in parallel is very important, and you can build that into your framework. It helps your test go a lot faster, right? Which sometimes the other testing tools cannot do as well. So we're not going to. So like it says, we're not going to do a long explanation of Selenium's tool suite here, but we'll take a look at the brief overview, right? So types of Selenium. So there's IDE, which it's a tool that you would, you can use it to create like very basic automation tests. I don't recommend you using it. If you're just getting started in Selenium, it has a record button that you can try out, but it's not going to be what you need, right? So then there's Selenium WebDriver, Selenium 2, Selenium 3, Selenium 4. So Selenium 4 is the newest one that is out. I still call it Selenium WebDriver, but I guess we should be calling it Selenium 4 now, right? Then there's Selenium Grid, where you can have, so it's like you still write the test exactly how you'd write using here, and then you can use the remote driver. You can have it sent to a grid where it can be distributed all over the place, right? So, you know, it's, and with the Selenium Grid, you can run it on AWS Device Farm, you can run it on Sauce Labs, you can run it on mobile devices that are hosted by those places, you can run it on Browser Stack, you can probably run it on Lambda test that we're reading right now, you know. So it's very, very Selenium is, like, to me, it's still the most powerful one out there. It might not be, it's getting challenged, but to me, it's still the most efficient one out there, right? So Selenium WebDriver, it is a library whose APIs are called from the code, post which the commands are run on the browser of your choice using Selenium locators. Elements can be identified and located, which is used to generate test cases. Then, using the API, the WebDriver APIs, you can take action on those items you want to interact with. The script you create interacts directly with the browser, which is one of the reasons it runs significantly faster than Selenium RC, which has been deprecated. There are different drivers for different browsers, which interprets the script you write for it, right? And one of the things about the different drivers for different browsers, that is part of the setup and the maintenance of Selenium, which can be quite frustrating and annoying if you're not using a WebDriver manager. And that would be a +1 for like Playwright. And for Cypress, right? So yeah, but like managing the different drivers to different browsers can be quite frustrating. I'm not even going to read the Selenium IDE part because it's not worth it, right? So Selenium Grid. Selenium Grid is a tool that allows you to run your tests on different machines against different browsers in parallel. It allows you to run your tests on different machines, operating systems, and browsers. So you can have a distributed network, right? So like last year, I used AWS Device Farm and one of our explorations, and we're able to say, all right, I want, so with Selenium Grid, you can say, I want this test to run on a Windows machine in Microsoft Edge, and I want the same test to also run on a Mac using Chrome or Firefox or Safari or Opera. Like, it just depends on the browser that you configure and the browser that is on the devices, right? So you can distribute your test all over the place, right? So that's one of the cool things about Selenium Grid. So with Selenium Grid, you can set up all right. So where were we? All right. So it allows you to run your tests in different. This can be particularly useful if you have a large test suite and want to run your tests as quickly as possible. It's an environment where we have one master system, the hub, which controls the child system, the nodes, right? And you can set it up manually. You can set it up. You can use a distributed system, you know. So the Selenium Grid, you can set up a hub, which is a central point that manages the test execution on the connected nodes. You can then connect any number of nodes to the hub, and these nodes can be used to execute tests in parallel. Each node represents a combination of operating systems, browsers, and versions, and you can specify which tests should be run on which nodes, right? So if you need to test on this version of IE, this version of Chrome on this operating system, you can definitely set that up, right? So I'm not going to, like, you have the link to the article. You can read this. I'm not going to go into all of it, right? So let's see. So Selenium trends on GitHub. As per the Selenium GitHub repository, Selenium persists in acquiring popularity with, so we have stars 25.5K, fork 7.3K, watching 1.3K, used by 175,000 people. Contributors, there are 673 contributors, right? And as you can see, the downloads in past all time from 2015-ish, and it is going up to infinity and beyond, right? So Selenium architecture, right? Selenium is an open source testing framework used for web automation testing. The JSON wire protocol was removed in Selenium in favor of W3C WebDriver protocol, which is now the official standard for controlling web browsers. Nevertheless, the Selenium team continues to support the outdated protocol, which may be done via Selenium supported language bindings and Selenium server. All right. The new protocol is called WebDriver W3C. It has acquired the acceptance of the World Wide Web Consortium W3C. And in Selenium for architecture, we can see the direct communication between the client and the server without needing the JSON wire protocol. The same protocol is used by Selenium WebDriver and web browsers, making test case execution quick and flakiness extremely low, right? So that is one of the benefits, in combating of test flakiness that Selenium 4 has introduced. So let's see. So browser drivers, Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Internet Explorer driver, Microsoft Edge driver, Safari, the real browsers, and the Selenium client libraries over here, okay? So let's keep going. So there are several benefits to using WebDriver W3C protocol. WebDriver W3C protocol is richer in comparison to the one JSON wire protocol. The Actions API is revamped to work with the WebDriver spec. Actions API would now let you perform multi-touch actions, zoom in and zoom out, pressing two keys simultaneously, and more. For example, the pinch zoom sequence in W3C protocol is represented by an action sequence consisting of 3 ticks and 2 pointer devices of type touch, right? So we are going to jump in now to what is Cypress. So Cypress is a front-end testing tool built for the modern web. It supports JavaScript and is used for end-to-end testing with the Mocha test framework. Mocha is a feature-rich JavaScript-based testing framework that simplifies asynchronous testing. Cypress is a powerful automation tool gaining popularity and becoming a viable alternative to Selenium. In Cypress, you don't need to install multiple dependencies. Most required things for writing the test cases come as a bundle in Cypress. Cypress runs a test suite inside the browser, making it very fast compared to frameworks like Selenium. In the Cypress bundle, we have an inbuilt chai assertion library that supports the Mocha framework, which provides the syntax for implementing test cases and in behavior-driven development style, BDD style, right? So Cypress automation tool addresses the following key pain points developers and QA engineers face when testing modern applications, right? So so let's see. Easy installation. You can install Cypress with npm or their desktop application. So pretty much what it's saying is you don't need to install additional libraries, dependencies, and drivers, right? Which you definitely have to do in with Selenium. You need to install the drivers for each browser, right? You might need some additional libraries. Like for instance, if you're using Java, you might need to install TestNG. If you're using Python, you might need to install like PyTest or Behave, or if you're doing Java, you may have to do Cucumber. Who knows, right? So many different. But with Cypress, it's just do npm install Cypress, and you are good to go. Real-time reloads. In Cypress, you do not need to reload the test case. When you make changes to your test case, it is smart enough to trigger the run and test it automatically. So we saw that when we were working on Cypress, that you just make a change in the code and it's going to kick off another run. With Selenium, you need to run it every single time that you are after you make a change, you need to once it fails, you need to press the run button again and have that continue to trigger, right? You have to manually set it off in Selenium. So those are some of the differences that I'm reading through right now. Write test cases faster. Cypress is faster. Within minutes, you can start writing the test case. Cypress runs tests within the browser that gives us results almost identical to what the users will experience, right? And one of the things I like about Cypress as well is that it, when you install it, it gives you a starting point of test, and that you can even take that as a template and start modifying your test. I would say that Selenium, for instance, it's a lot more comprehensive, and it is there's definitely a bigger learning curve, right? All right, so let's go to automatic waiting. In Cypress UI, you do not need to add wait times or sleep to your test. Cypress automatically waits for commands and assertions before moving on to the next step. Screenshots and videos of the entire suite is automatically captured. You can also capture screenshots automatically of failure when running headlessly. This is extremely useful when tests fail because in Selenium at least, you need to if you don't build it into your frame, like it doesn't come by default, right? Selenium can take screenshots, it can take videos, but it's not built in by default. So you would need to code it or get a framework that extends Selenium that does that for you. But it's not like just by installing the vanilla Selenium, it is not going to be doing this for you, right? So that is one of the differences as well, from what I can see. And then they have an instructive dashboard. So using Cypress Cloud, we can run your test in the CI/CD provider and record test results. All right, and the trends on GitHub for Cypress, we have stars 42.3, forks 2.7, used by 660,000 people, releases 293, and contributors 413. So the numbers are like are less than Selenium, but it has been out. It's not as recent as Selenium as well, right? So let's take a look at the Cypress architecture real quick, right? So it says Cypress is a testing framework that is used to automate web applications. It has a unique architecture designed to make testing faster and more reliable. Cypress UI testing, all commands are executed inside the browser without any driver binaries dependency. In the screenshot below, you can see tests are run inside the browser, so execution is faster without any network lag, right? So it's not like going from outside to inside. Everything is inside the browser, right? So we have web and then node, Cypress proxy server, and it goes in here. Cypress test, application under test, and it's doing it's sending the traffic back and forth. All right, so there is a node server behind Cypress, and the node process constantly communicates, synchronizes, and performs jobs on behalf of each other. The node server and browser communicate through WebSocket, which starts once the proxy is created. Since tests are running inside the browser, it is very easy to work directly on DOM, local storage, network layer, Windows object, and I think that's why it's a lot easier in Cypress to figure out that shadow DOM than it was in Selenium, right? So, and that was a very cool challenge by Don that he created. So very cool. Let's see. As the things mentioned above are very simple to access in Cypress, this is a significant advantage when running tests on Cypress in comparison to other test automation frameworks. And if you want to learn more about Cypress, you can go to Cypress testing on the Lambda test. So like I said, the link to this blog post will be in the description where you can read it for yourself or follow along. Let's stop here for now. We have reviewed a good bit of the Cypress versus Playwright versus Selenium, to see which one we should get into. It is a lot of information, a lot to take in consideration. I do not want to overwhelm you in this video. So we are going to stop this at part 1, and then we will do a part 2 where we continue, and we might even have to do a part 3, right? Because it is a lot of information. You need to make this choice wisely, but I will say this right now, right? Although you might focus on one over another, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't get familiar with all 3 of them, right? Because I want you to be able to pivot, to be able to apply for many different jobs, get enough knowledge that you can be dangerous, although you don't have to be an expert in any one of them in particular, right? So keep that in mind, take that into consideration. We will continue with a part 2 of this video next week, and we'll do as many parts as necessary, right? So just a quick, this is just getting started. 2024 is here. We need to continue to level up our skills, and that is what we're going to do. So let me know what you think. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you can know we can go live. Like the video, share the video, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your preferences are. Do you like Cypress? Do you like Selenium? Do you like Playwright? Do you have a different choice, right? Let me know. Let me know what you use at work. Let me know what you're looking into learning, and we can go from there, right? So this has been the first episode of Software Explorations, Concepts and Overviews for the year of 2024, and I look forward to bringing you more amazing content. And on that note, this is Tech Coach Ralph signing off.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.